Good morning, everyone. Hello, Assalamualaikum, and it's finally Friday. Time passes so fast, yeah? How are you guys doing? It's me again. I was not here yesterday for the session. There was a session yesterday on Viva, which I missed that one. Interesting one, but I missed it because I have class. Morning, Azwa. Puan Azwa. Puan Azwa, are you from UMS? Are you working in UMS? Okay, we'll just wait for a while. Yeah. No, doctor. Oh, tidak. Okay. I thought you are working with MS. Okay. Sawana, you are here. Your supervisor, right? Dr. Grace. I'm waiting for your pre-viva date, yeah, Sawana? Are you here? How about the international students? Are you guys doing well today? Oh, saya nak betulkan tudung ni. I hope that reading Dr. Grace's paper, yes. Dr. Grace is, I will introduce her later, but yeah, she is very good in writing journal articles. Yeah, she published a lot and being cited by international researcher as well. Okay, I think some of you have heard, have attended her session. Okay, 2 weeks back, yeah, when Pascha conducted the session. Yeah, Linley, okay. Do you have any question with regards to your research methodology class? I hope that every one of you has already registered for this course. For those who will be, yeah, I hope every one of you have registered for this course. Okay, for especially those who are in first year, yeah, which is compulsory to attend this course, yeah, to sit for this course, to pass, not to sit, to pass for this course, yeah. If you have any question, you may ask me, yeah, while waiting for Dr. Grace to be here. She is currently having a meeting. She called me that she's having a meeting, a brief one with her student as well. So we'll just wait for her. Okay. Let's wait for a while. I think in my opinion, yeah, where can we get the link for attendance? Oh, okay. Sorry, I didn't read your. Okay, you can have it here, Mr. Ben. Okay. I think why is it important for all of us to be here today is because the topic today is very important, yeah. Identifying ataupun problem formulation, yeah. I can say that it is the first step. It's the first step for you to move further, okay? Because it's not if there's no I have not met Dr. Grace for so long as well. We've been we've been working remotely. So I told them, Dr. Grace, that it's very important for them for the postgraduate students to attend today because formulating a problem is the basic things first before you want to pursue your journey, right? Because you don't want to solve problems. You don't want to research a thing that already been researched by other person, right? It's no longer significant, perhaps, yeah. Because this is something, your study is something we must have the novelty and the contribution must have a huge contribution lah kan.
Yes.
Okay, good morning, Dr. Grace.
Morning. Can you hear me, Dr. Izanti?
Oh my God, Grace, I have not met you for so long. Okay.
So sorry, the camera is not very clear from my side.
But I can see your face, yeah. After so long not meeting each other, and Dr. Grace has a problem with the camera before. Okay,
Yes.
start. Okay, let me introduce Dr. Grace. This is Dr. Grace Pang Ying. She is a senior lecturer in the marketing program. Currently, She is the expert in marketing. You can see I also posted her Google Scholar at the chat group, that chat comment there. You can have a look. Okay, being cited by international researchers, and her expertise is in branding, retailing, social media marketing, consumer behavior. Yeah, she has a lot of grants, yeah, research grants, consultation from international and local industry people, and also holding posts in the in the university level. Okay, currently when I look at the my database, Dr. Grace has ramai, a lot of PhD student, yeah, PhD student, and she is currently also looking for master student to be supervised, yeah, especially in marketing area lah, branding, retailing. Graduated from Waseda University, Japan, and has been with UMS how many years, Dr. Grace?
Oh,
Oh,
long years, many years.
many years, how long? I think about
Don't count it.
more than 10 years, yeah?
Definitely.
Definitely. Okay, without further ado, I pass the session to Dr. Grace. Over to you, Doctor.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Izanti. Good morning, everyone. Can you hear me well? Can you?
Yes, yes, very clear.
Okay, that's good. That's good. Hi, how are you all? Thank you, Dr. Izanti, for the introduction. I'm so sorry that I am a little 10 minutes late because I have to attend another meeting. It's like a sort of like a last minute urgent meeting. I'm so sorry. Hopefully you guys thank you so much for patiently waiting for me. Just before we start the session, can I ask a few questions? Maybe some of you can answer me. Are you guys students in the first semester and second semester? Just wondering. Hello? Someone?
First semester.
First semester, okay. Anyone who is on the second year, fourth semester or fifth semester? I hope there is none of you here. The reason being is I think this course, just like what Dr. Izandi is telling us, it is rather a basic course. It's supposed to be the very first stage of your research, of your study, in the sense that you are now still trying to finalize your topic, not even your framework in a sense. So to really settle with your supervisor, to get your supervisors a grade, you and your supervisor are still working on what you want to, specific things that you want to study. Yeah. So, okay, I would like to share my screen. I hope you can see it. Let me know if you can't see my screen. Yeah. Can you see it?
Yes, we do.
Thank you. Okay. All right. So, good morning, everyone. So the title for the workshop today is problem formulation, not workshop, it's a talk actually. So problem formulations, I think this is the most basic things that we have to do, especially when you are still preparing your proposal, right? Chapter 1 to 3 for your proposal defense. We need to get to know what to research first. So this is extremely important. So before we start on the problem formulation, I would like to talk about what is a little bit on the research proposal that you have to do. You do know that when you are doing your research proposal, this would actually contains chapter 1 to 3, isn't it? From the introduction to the literature review, and then after that, the third one will be methodology. Okay, so first thing that we have to settle is actually to set on the things that we want to do. So that is the research that you are going to do. It is a process of finding solutions to a problem after a thorough study of analysis of the situational factors. So when you look into the research that you are going to do here now, because you are going to get an academic degree, yeah? It's either a master by research, master by coursework, or it is a PhD by research, or you know, perhaps a BA or whatsoever. It is actually an academic degree. So when we talk about academic degree, it is very important for you to understand that your research is an academic research. Hence, it has to be an organized, systematic, data-based, critical, objective, scientific inquiry and investigation. The words here, that is, these terms here are very important because you must understand that your research has to be conducted scientifically and it has to be systematic and it needs to be based on the data. Okay, so right from the beginning, if let's say, for example, you are right from the beginning, you do your problem identification correctly, formulation correctly, then you do perhaps your framework development correctly, and then after that, when you design your research correctly in terms of the methodology, you collect your data correctly, analyze them correctly, and in the end of the day, what you will get is actually you will get good findings. You know, okay. Valid findings, reliable findings in the sense that you will be able to report them in a scientific way. So this is actually a whole process, and thank you so much for the FPEP, the Postgraduate Center for the faculty to organize this one semester session. This is the first time, I think, Dr. Ijanti, right? So that we are actually trying to help students to see, we're trying to, trying to help students to know how to conduct their research scientifically. So in a research proposal, you're supposed to know what do you plan to achieve. You need to know what is the research problem, what is supposed that you want to research, and why do you want to do it. When you say why you want to do it, then it will concern the next slide that I'm going to discuss about later on. You know, the topic needs to be worthy of study, which means it has to be importance and new. We'll talk about importance and new later on. And the third one is how are we going to do it? You know, it has to be doable, and this is when we are going to discuss on the methodology. Of course, this will be covered by different people for this semester. Okay, so the next issue is basically the main concern for today's talk. That will be what is the research problem. So how do you know what you want to do and what is worth to do? I think Dr. Izianti have mentioned that, you know, whether you choose a topic, you choose an issue, whether this issue is good enough to study or not, whether, you know, so how to know this? I'm going to give you some tips, you know, we're going to share some experience. I'm going to share some experience with you, and hopefully it is going to be beneficial for you. So I always tell my students, the students that I supervise, the topic that you do, the research problem that you do, you must always think of two things. Number one is new. The other one is important. Okay, both of these are very, very critical. New here, it doesn't mean that you have to do something that is new to the world. I'm not asking you to do a F-breaking, you know, a sort of research, you know, that research that's going to change the world just to get your PhD. No, I'm not trying to ask you to do that. But what we are trying to do here is your research must have novelty. And this novelty has to be significant enough to grant you the academic degree. Okay, so later on, we're going to talk a little bit on how good is, you know, how much novelty that you're going to have. Maybe this is the questions that my students always ask me, Doctor, you know, if it has to have new things, so how much new things I have to have in my research? It all depends on the level of your study, I think, okay, whether you are doing a master or whether you're doing a PhD. The other one is important. Your research should be significant enough. It should have some implications that or contributions that would actually benefit not only you, not only the academic people, perhaps the academicians, but it also would be able to benefit, if possible, the practitioners as well. Okay, so those are the two terms that is important. So first of all, when you talk about what to research, how are we going to know what is important and what is new? So first thing I would advise you, ask yourself, okay, what do you want to study? Okay, what you are interested in? If you have the things, you already have an issue that you want to do, okay, you have to think first whether it is important, Okay, important not for us to say it is important to me because I work with this company. That's why I think it is important. This is very subjective. This is not objective. Remember, your research is a scientific research. It has to be objective. So when we say that it is important and significant, it means that it has some perhaps industry contributions. It have importance in terms of knowledge development. That would be very, very important. Okay, if let's say, for example, you want to test a certain theory, of course, then it will be a very significant research in a sense. Huh? All right, and what problems will it help to solve, and how does it build upon the existing research? You know, what people have been studying, how you're going to improve the existing understanding of the topic. You know, you're going to enhance it. You know, you're going to expand it. You're going to improve it. So are you going to do that? Well, is your research able to do that? And what exactly should I do, and how I get it done in the time available? Don't do a research that you don't think you can complete it within the time frame that you set for yourself. Okay. Some students, I have students who are actually asking me, Doctor, I want to do this and that, and in a sense that it would include mixed method. Mixed method is a very in things now. You can go to the UK or Australian, you can find a lot of people actually are doing mixed method in the sense that you are doing both qualitative and quantitative. If you are good in both, I would say go ahead with it. If you're not, then I would advise you to really think whether the topic, of course, then it would be suitable to conduct mixed method or not. Then the thing is whether the time available for you is good enough for you to conduct both study or not. Because just imagine people conduct a comprehensive qualitative research or quantitative research, and both type of research actually take them 3 years separately. And if you want to conduct both, do you have enough time? Or are you really doing the so-called, the one that you claim is mixed method, or is actually not mixed method at all? So those are the things that you have to think carefully when you are first thing when you're choosing a topic. Can you do it or not? Do you have it? Do they have actually? Is there enough time for you to do it or not? All right. So always remember. I still remember when I was doing my PhD, my supervisor told me you do not need to be Edison. You do not need to be, someone who are actually creating a theories or something, creating a product that's going to change the world. What you need is actually a topic that is an issue that is good enough for you to get your degree. Okay, this is good enough to get your PhD. The one that is going to change the world, perhaps you can conduct those type of research after you get your PhD. Okay, that would be better and safer in a sense. So talk about your idea. Talk to your potential supervisors, experts in the field. So after you think of an idea, you might not know whether it is workable or not. I would always say that, a lot of students actually applying to study without actually nominating a supervisors. I would advise, actually, by right, you should be having an idea what topic you want to do, and you should check on the internet or website, your FPEP website, for example, for the potential supervisor or experts in the field. Talk to them first, get an idea, because if you are not nominating any supervisor, what happens is that the faculty will assign you a supervisor. So of course, the faculty will assign you based on the best interest, based on your best interest, based on the supervisor best interest as well. But we do not know, actually. It is actually more risky because you don't know your supervisor. You don't know whether you can work with your supervisor or not. I would advise to talk to them first before you actually appoint them to be your supervisors, and you will be able to get a rough idea on, when you talk to them, you will see how they work, how you work, and whether this relationship is going to be workable or not. Because chemistry is extremely important, actually, when we come to supervision in a sense. Different supervisors have different styles. Some are very strict, some very straightforward, some are very lenient, some are very soft-spoken, some are very, so everybody have their own approach. So I would think it is always, and it all depends on the type of student. Some actually appreciate a more straightforward kind of approach. The other appreciate, more consultative type of approach or this and that. There's no best approach. What I can tell you is that there's only suitable approach, the one that suit you. Me, myself, when I was doing my PhD, I did it in Japan, like what Dr. Izanti is introducing me just now. I did it in Waseda University, and as very, very established old university in Japan. The supervisor I have is actually, when I enroll into the programs, he is 65 years old, more than 65 years old. Is a very, very old gentleman, very kind, very soft, very patient. Okay, and Japanese, you can't actually impress them in terms of how hardworking you are, because Japanese are known for their hardworking. But that's why I have to prove to my senseis that, you know, besides hardworking, I am committed. I am also have to be smart in a sense. So these are the things that I am trying to tell you. It depends on the professors that you have. Me, myself, when I did my PhD, I prefer someone who can tell me right immediately, telling me that, you know, whether this topic is workable, whether this framework is workable or not. Straight to my face, but Japanese are not that type. But just to let you know that they are very when they say no to you, they don't say no to you. They will say daijoubu. It's okay. Yeah? So this type of culture, you have to really understand their culture to know them. I believe we have international students here as well. So you must know a little bit of Malaysian culture. What do we mean by some nonverbal communication in a sense, to get your supervision nicely in a sense. Okay, so when we talk about this, then this is the reason why, and I do when I supervise my student, I try to give them what I think would be the best. You know, but again, it all depends on what you think would be more suitable to you. Yeah. Okay. All right. So the third one is, what are the sources of problems for investigation? Okay. Just now I say you got an idea. Okay, you got an idea. I do not know where does this idea come from. Generally, we are going to talk about this topic. Where does it come from? Yeah, the things that you are going to do is going to be is going to be the deduction from the theory. Okay, the deduction made from social philosophy or generalizations embodied in life and in society that the researchers is familiar with. So we can actually from the theory, it's supposed to be the issue is supposed to be from the theories that you're interested in. Okay, all right, that you want to do, perhaps control level theory. You know, perhaps you are interested to do something that is related to internet related or technology, new technology related type of adoption behavior. So you are interested in all those technology theories, and you are looking, when you read all across all the different theories, you read TIMES, you read UTAL, you read UTAL2 or DOI or whatsoever. Then in the end of the day, you think, okay, you know, when I reviewing all these theories, I found something that perhaps I could use this theory, you know, and enhance this theory or expand this theory in a sense. It could be a deductions from theory or from relevant literature. I think this is the most common one among my students. So we are choosing a research topic from a thorough review of pertinent research associated with your overall area of interest. You know, so when you review a topic, for example, brand image, you know, so you read all the papers regarding to brand image, and from there you found that most of the research are basically looking at one area. Most of the researchers are investigating on certain parts of brand image, perhaps the antecedents of brand image, but not on the consequences of brand image in a sense. So in a sense that you are actually identifying certain gap. Yeah. So the research may be conducted to fill in the knowledge gap. Maybe not many understanding, that not many people understand about this topic, you know, even though a lot of people talk about it, but the issue is very new, the knowledge is very new, there's no many people investigating on it. Yeah, there's actually impose some gaps. Evaluate if the methodologies employed in previous study can be adapted to solve other problems as well. Perhaps people are using a certain methodologies to investigate certain topic, and you was thinking that perhaps you can borrow the methodologies to your problem as well. Okay, all right, and determine if the similar study could be conducted in different subject area or applied in different contexts or to different study sample. I think this is the most common one, whereby a lot of students saying that, you know, it was previously done in the UK and or in a Western country. Now I want to see whether what happens in Malaysia, you know, whether this could be the same thing happen here in Malaysia or not. We can do that, but still there are things that we need to reason, in a sense that, for example, you justify it saying that, when you argue that this topic was done in the States and, you know, we don't know whether how would it be in Malaysia, you need to argue why do you think there will be a difference between Malaysia and US? Is the different because of the cultural differences, you know, because of the generations, because of any other things that's or geographical differences that cause these things to be different, that you assume it will be different? Because if you can't justify that it is different, then there's no point for you to conduct such a research in Malaysia, because you can just generalize that particular US study to Malaysian condition, in a sense. So whenever you want to adapt a certain particular framework, you know, and you argue that previously it was done in the States and now you want to test in Malaysia, you need to provide further arguments, in a sense, needs to justify for that. So, or let's say, for example, it was conducted in under different study sample, perhaps it was previously most of the people are looking at adults, then now you want to look at young people. You need to argue why young people, in a sense, when you are thinking of when you want to conduct your research, in the sense. Okay, so another tips to actually get to know what to do next, you know, in the topic that you want to do, is whenever you're reading a paper, I would say I always advise my student, you beside reading the other parts, for example, like intro, for example, like mostly the first thing I ask them to read is actually the abstract. You know, reading the abstract, you will know exactly the overall paper, what is the overall paper is all about. But then if the abstract is good and you think it is relevant, then you start to look into the other parts of the paper. But it is 14 pages, 16 pages, you might not have time to really look or read every paper. So I always inform my student, maybe what you can do is you need to read a paper smartly, in a sense that what you can do is, of course, I advise, normally my advice would be you have to read a paper a few times, start with the introduction, then start later on followed by I always look at introduction, then methodology, then after that, I'll look at the conclusion. The conclusion part is very important. The reason being is in the conclusion part, most of the time, the researchers will conclude what they have found in the study, and also they will discuss about what would be the suggestions for future research. When they're making the suggestions for future research, the most probably will be suggesting what are the factors that they can actually use to test the framework, they think is worth to be tested and is important to be tested. So from there, actually, it gives you some idea what would be the new problems to investigate, actually. If you think that particular paper is worthwhile for you to look into it because it's related to the topics that you want to do. So it would be able to give you some ideas on what are the new topics or new variables that you can work on, you know, that has not been working on. So, you know, it's quite nice, actually. So don't forget about the conclusion part, yeah, because it actually include the statements for the future research, that whereby it will provide you some very good idea. Some people actually get the topic or idea from their own personal experience. Perhaps you have been working in industry for long, from your own experience, from your on your discussion with the people, the practitioners in the field, that you think that, yeah, you know, this actually provide the future directions for, you know, the new directions for future research. And you know, by having discussion with practitioners, is that, or having the real life experience, is that it would actually make your research findings to be more relevant to practice. That definitely, yeah. But you must bear in mind that we are still doing an academic research. So we in the end of the day, the framework that you're going to develop, especially in quantitative study, it is still very much, the body of the knowledge would be still the most critical issue to me. Yep. Okay. All right. So, and the third one is interdisciplinary perspective. Identifying problem that forms the basis for research study can come from academic movements or scholarship originating in disciplines outside of your primary area of study. For example, perhaps there's a concern about how the marine products are not sellable, or they are having some problem, so how are we going to bring this into perhaps bring marketing into the marine issues, or bring marketing into the agriculture issues, or let's say, for example, previously, the tests on eyes are basically related more to the healthcare industry, or the healthcare, or the medical field. But now a lot of marketing people, or marketing researchers are actually analyzing the eye movement of the consumers. If they go to the supermarket, they are actually analyzing, they're using this scanner or CCTV, they're trying to scan and how to follow the eye movement of the consumers on how they actually, in terms of what type of products they pay attention to, what type of products that they will actually examine in a more detailed manner, or they just browse through, so this type of research was also interdisciplinary. We combine, even though it is originally used in medical industry or fields, but then we also use it in psychology and marketing or behavioral type of study, in a sense. So to know whether your topic or your interest is in trend or not, is in the current trend or not, there are a few ways, just a few ways for you to know, but again, these are just suggestions in a sense. Yeah. So first of all, maybe what you can do is you can go to these Google Trends. Okay. Google Trend. Sorry. Hold on for a while. Let me see. Now I want to have you let you look at this one. Yeah, Google Trend, for example, I'm not sure whether you know about this or not. You can actually go Google Trend, and then you can just type a topic, for example, on branding, and you can see, let's say, for example, so I want to see. Is there anybody talk about brand equity? How is the brand equity? This term is actually being searched on the Google. Okay, and then for the past 12 months, you can see, whether it's still in trend or not. And then if you want to see, let's say, for example, in Malaysia, this is the statistic in Malaysia. You can look into the worldwide statistic. People actually mention about brand equity. For example, if it is, in which country they actually are most interested in, it give you some idea, and what are the related things that is related to brand equity. Give you some ideas how would be the topic now, whether they are actually in things or not, in a sense. Yeah. Okay. Or the other one is if you want to know more specifically in terms of academic, what you can do is maybe you can start to try to find in Scopus, perhaps in sources, or sources will show you the journals, in a sense. But if, let's say, for example, you can find some, it allows you actually Scopus, UMS actually subscribe to Scopus, and you can just go to the library, okay, Easy Proxy UMS, and then you log in, then you just click on the Scopus, and you can start to explore Scopus website, in a sense that even if you want to know, for example, whether lecturers, how good are they? Do they publish in the Scopus journal? How would be the score for high H index for that particular lecturer? You can actually search it here. Okay, or you want to see, let's say, for example, Just want to see University Malaysia, Sabah, University Malaysia, Sabah. Okay, so how does our university performs? What are the, what are the types of the papers published in what field? And you will be able to get some idea. We know that most of our paper are on the agriculture and biology science, okay, and also other things as well. You can see most of the papers are mostly science related, except if business school will be categorized under social science. Okay, and also, for example, if you do not want, so if let's say, for example, brand documents, if you type, for example, you want to know branding, this try, and we will be, by right, we'll be able to see what are the papers, the recent papers, the most cited papers. Let's say, for example, you will just want to choose article, you want to choose journal. Okay, and then we will be able to see so what are the latest paper that is done on the topics that you are doing, and you can browse through and see what are the most of the paper that is doing on brand, for example. Yeah, so what is the current topics that normally people do on the topics that topics that you're interested in. Then it gives you some idea whether normally the research that you are going to do, it has to be important in a sense that people are doing research on this particular field. Of course, you might argue with your supervisors or argue with your reviewer later on. This is a very new field. The field is very new. The topic is very new. Yeah, it is good that it is very new. But remember that you will never be the first person who research on something. Trust me. You just go to Google Scholar, you type in the things that you want to do, you'll find that there's definitely people doing it, the topics that you want to do. It's just that maybe you use different terms, or if they use the same term, maybe there are people doing it, but might not be many. When there are not many people doing it, you have to be very careful whether it is really because the topic is very new or because the topic is not so important. So you need to really look into that part, yeah? And the next part is that there's no other way, because when you come to finalize the specific topic that you want to do to build your framework, okay, to build a framework, especially for quantitative research. Because I'm a quantitative person, so most of my discussion will be more focused on quantitative rather than qualitative, yeah, my apology. So when we look into this type of quantitative research, your job is to get a topic, okay, then you need to identify the research problem, then from there you are trying to build your framework. So there's no other way to do that except to read. Okay, you need to read, and you have to read good journals. A lot of students are not they not pay attention to the journals that they read. You must be very, very careful. I always advise my student, it is only when you get good journals, okay, you get the right way of the right idea of how to conduct a scientific research, because you're not doing it yet. You are just learning how to do it. So learn from a good journal, learn from a good supervisor, then you will do your research correctly in a sense. So read specific parts of the article, read abstract like what I say. Okay, my suggestion is when you have to read a lot of papers, you don't have much time. You're trying very hard to finalize your framework. First of all, my advice to you, read abstract. From abstract, then you judge the paper whether it is worthwhile for you to read the whole 14 pages or 16 pages, or you can just browse through. If let's say, for example, the first reading of the abstract, you think, okay, it is a good paper. It is interesting, related to the field that I want to do. I want to read more. Okay, so I will advise you the next thing that you have to read is actually introduction, methodology, and recommendation for future research. These are the parts that you have to read, because introduction will actually most in a paper, introduction part will actually tell you the answer the question of new and important. they will actually address the issue of the research gap in the introduction. So by reading the introduction by right, you should be able to know what is the issue that they want to address. And in the methodology would be how are they going to address it? Okay, and then of course, if you want to read because you already read the abstract, you roughly know the findings of the research already. Yeah. So from there, then you ask yourself whether it is worthwhile to read the rest of the parts now. Okay. If it's worthwhile to read the rest of the part, then the third reading would be to read it carefully. This is why one article, most of the time, you have to read it more than 3 times, especially for those journal published in very, very top journal. Those paper published in very top journal, it might not be that easy for you to understand. Just try one psychology paper. You can just try and download one paper from Journal of Applied Psychology. You can just try and then you read, and I can tell you that type of paper, you might need to read it 4 or 5 times. You might not understand what they're talking about. Okay, because most of the time, what they are doing is actually they are testing theories and they're using experiments. So the next one is beside experiment, the empirical paper, you can read systematic reviews as well. Meta-analysis report, citation analysis report. You can read those type of paper as well, because if there are people who are doing systematic reviews on the topic that you want to do, actually it helps you to understand the topic easily, in a sense that okay, you get all the literature review. But when people already do a systematic review, means that they most probably they are doing it for their PhD study as well. So the topic, there is someone who really study on that particular topic as well. It's a good thing. From there, you will be able to ensure that your reading is relevant. You are not reading something that is not relevant in a sense, and useless also, or not important papers. In a sense. So systematic reviews are very, very good as well. Visit the website of the most influential journals in the field, and find the key concepts, very short articles, and each one is dedicated to read the key concepts. And, these are very short articles, and each one is dedicated to one specific topic written by very prominent scholars. Okay, refer to the reference section for the most important papers written in the field. You can just, for example, check on the scopus of if you want, if you're in marketing, let's say, for example, you can go to the website of Journal of Marketing and you can try to see what would be most of the time there will be people actually inviting those experts from the field and writing some key concepts. So those are the things that some of them will be writing, like what is the next most critical issues in marketing, what are the most important research area in marketing. Those are the things that you would benefit you a lot. Okay, so while you are reading your journal, you need to do this thing also, checking here and there for papers, or sorry, for some idea and information on what is the latest or the most critical things in the field that you're interested in. Or you can, if let's say, for example, since we are subscribing, the university have spent a lot of money. We subscribe to a lot of a platform that you can actually download articles, get your articles correctly. We have Scopus, we have Emerald, we have EBSCOhost, we have Tester, we have Science Direct. So please use them, okay? Don't waste because when we subscribe all these platform, we are actually subscribing in a yearly basis. So if there's not many students are searching or getting the documents or papers from those platforms, we will unsubscribe it. The library might suggest to not subscribing for the next year, in a sense. So besides searching your articles in Google Scholar, I would say please use our library website a lot, because we have already subscribed to those things. So don't waste your rights, in a sense. Anyway, you're paying for your school fee as well. We also have Site Info, okay, and you can check on the Web of Science as well. So after that, after you have been checking on the topics and seeing what is going on, and you have rough idea, when you ask yourself you're interested in something based on your own experience or your own interest. The next thing that you, from your reading, maybe you have to could be drawing a map in a sense, what you want to do with your research, a rough map first. So we call it a mind maps. You know, this is the one that in marketing, for example, in marketing, when we do a lot of this type of perceptual map, in the sense that we do like, in the example here, Volkswagen Beetle, and how do you, what are the things that is related to Volkswagen? It's fun to drive, easy to park, a good winter car, inexpensive German car, you know, and then neat colors, from neat colors go to silver, lime green. And so this style of things, you maybe also help you with your research as well, when you want to see what is the main issue. So when you're writing your research, when you're trying to formulate your research problem, we need to understand what is in your thesis first, okay? So when you look into, this is generally what is in your thesis line. You must have a title, then you must start with a chapter 1 on introduction, and then after that you need to write chapter 2 on literature review, chapter 3 on methodology. Then after that, you will have your chapter 4, the expected result, the findings, and then, you know, the findings. Yeah, we will combine these expected results, implications, conclusion in one chapter. We call it the chapter 5 here. And also then last one, you will have your references. This is generally the normal thesis structure in a sense. Some people will have 6 chapters, some people have 7 chapters, it all depends. But generally this is the one that we have. Okay, so then when we focus on chapter 1, because problem formulation is actually in chapter 1, where does it where it is when we want to talk about the problem formulation. In chapter 1, this is normally the structure of chapter 1. It will start with the background of the study. Normally you will talk about the background of the study. Then from the background of the study, you will start to discuss about the research gaps. Okay. When you, in your chapter 1, when you talk about the background of the study, your research normally will talk about, let's say, for example, you want to do something on tourism, on hospitality. Then you need to explain how important it is, tourism or hospitality industry, how important, how much is the contribution, you know, and how important it is, and then why is it very critical now for us to study the issue of that something that's related to hospitality. So from there, when you provide the background of the study, then after that, we look into what are the issues here. They come to the research gaps. We will talk more about this one. Then from the research gaps, we will draw our problem statement. And from the problem statement, we will draw our research objective and questions. And then after that, the scope of the study, then significance of the study, then definitions of term. This is generally what is in your chapter 1. Okay, so when we talk about the title, but since this is because this is the first class, this is what I understand from Dr. Izianti. Dr. Izianti did a briefing previously, and then after that, this is the first one that you have. So I think it would be important for me, not only talking about the problem formulation, but also include some parts that I think is important and it is related to chapter 1 in a sense. Yeah. So we have to decide on the title of our research. But you don't have to worry, because once you haven't decided on your framework, you are not able actually to get your final title. So most of the time your title would be amended from time to time. But of course, when you submit your proposal, for proposal defense, you need to decide on your title already. But in the first place, it is very common we can't decide yet on the right exact title that you're going to have. So don't get panicked. This is what I'm saying. Once you get your framework, most of the time you'll get your title in a sense. So add to 15 words in length. The guideline is not to be too long, not to be too short. It has to be informative. It has to draw attention and interest of the reader. I would say, because this is an academic thesis, it has to indicate a few things clearly and accurately. The main theme, the issues, or the position discussed is the most important things. What do you want to, what are you researching is the main things that you have to have in your title. It has to reflect the area and the focus of your research. For example, a proposal, approach, or explain the functional relationship between the independent variables and dependent variables. If it is an academic journal papers, normally our title for journal papers are slightly different from our title for our thesis. Title for journal, it has to be more catchy, you can make it more interesting, but most of the time, the title for thesis rather has to be accurately and informative in a sense. So it has to provide information about what will be researched, what are you researching, and then how will the topic be researched, okay, what methodology, with whom, okay, population and units of measurements, and where in what context will the research be conducted. Give you an example. This is some guideline to write a title. You can write it in such a way, but this is just a guideline. Doesn't mean that all of you must follow this guideline. Okay, this is one way to write your title. Main theme or your research topic. Okay, then research design plus population plus geographical area. Okay, this is one suggestion to you. Barriers to internet banking adoption, and then a qualitative research among corporate customers in Thailand. So these barriers to internet banking adoption is the main theme. Qualitative research study, qualitative study is the research design. Corporate customers is the population, and Thailand is the geographical area. So this is one suggestion. Or you may not include all the variables because we understand that sometimes our research are very comprehensive. It depends on the university. I ever heard about some university, actually, they want you to put all the variables, list all the variables that you test in your framework in the title. But many other university did not say so. It all depends on the norm of the university. But I would always say the dependent variable is the most important thing. That most of the time, dependent variable is supposed to be in the title in a sense. So the dynamic nature of conflict, a longitudinal study of intra-group conflict and group performance. If you look at it here, they don't have the population, they don't have the geographical area. So not necessarily you must have the population and geographical area, not necessary. Sometimes it is good enough for you to have the main theme and the research design will do. Okay, so next we go into the things that we have just now. So I spent a little bit of time just now to talk about the background of the study, whereby I tell you normally in your first chapter, you need to explain the setting of your research first. You're doing on, for example, you want to do private label brands. You need to discuss about private label brands. You are doing on third party marketplace, for example. Then you need to discuss how important is third party marketplace, for example, like Lazada, Shopee. What is the market significance in the terms of that? What is the issues that people face? Then from there, we're providing an idea of how important is that particular industry. Then we bring in the idea. The next one is we're going to discuss about the research gaps and and after the research gap is the problem statement. The research gap is a research question or problem that has not been answered properly or at all in a given field of study. Is what makes your research significant. It shows an understanding of the status of the body of knowledge and it shows that you have conducted research which fulfill the gap in the literature. So in the research gap, we are trying to see, okay, this particular field is very important. For example, third party marketplace is now the in things. A lot of people buying online, the young generations buying online. But e-commerce is growing, m-commerce is growing in Malaysia and the rest of the world. So, this industry is significant, but, there are some issues that we found when we study about this issue. For example, we see some problems. we see some issues. Okay, we see some gaps. This gap could be, most of the time, people will address two gaps. One is industry gaps, the other one is literature gaps, or we call it practical gaps. Practical gaps means that this thing has been happening, booming in the industry. A lot of practitioners, a lot of people are doing it, but these practitioners don't understand the issue very much. There's not much understanding because there's not much research has been done. Okay, this is one gap, definitely. You know, also we can also look into the gap in the literature. This gap is very important in the industry, but however, there's not many people has done in the academic. So this is industry gap. Not many people understand about this issue. They don't know why this thing happened. Not only they themselves don't do the research, the academician also don't do the research. So we address two gaps, the gap in the industry as well as the gap in the literature. Yeah. So what are the gaps? How to identify research gaps, in the sense that there could be lack of or insufficient study, lack of or insufficient study. Insufficient study or lack of study could be geographical gaps. It was done in the US, it was not done in the Asia Pacific, and you see there's differences between the Asia Pacific from the Europe people, the European people and Americans people, perhaps these geographical gaps. Population gaps, you think there are differences. Most of the study are done among the young people, but no one actually looking into the older generation or the senior citizens, especially in countries that face aging problems. This could be very critical. Hence, you want to carry out a study to look into those senior citizens issues in this particular study. So this is population gap. So lack of study, insufficient study. Okay, lack of understanding or controversial or conflicting findings. When you read the articles or the papers that you have gathered, okay, you read them, you found out that when they are doing the topic that you're interested in, you find some conflicting results, some conflicting theories to explain a phenomenon. Some people use these particular variables. When they use it, they found significant relationship, but in other study, they don't found relationship. So then, you know, conflicting. When these studies are conflicting, it actually need more exploration in a sense. Okay? Or look for limitation in previous study. Look for previous problem in the previous study. Perhaps in the previous study, they only use certain methodology. Okay, so now you are using a new methodology, a better methodology to test it. Previously, they are using only regression, multiple regression, but now you're using structural equation modeling, perhaps, to provide a more comprehensive analysis of the things. Or previously, it was only doing in certain topics, for example. You know, they only do topics on the, when they do branding, they're only looking into from the manufacturing industry, they do on the other type of industry, but they never do in the industry that you are trying to look into. So, you know, there's a limitation in the previous studies as well. Or they cover only certain variables. For example, one study cover A, B, the other study cover C, D, but there's no one actually provide a comprehensive examination of A, B, C, D in a sense. So this is also a gap. All right, so that's something that you can also use to argue the significance of your study in a sense. Okay, people only using a certain theories, but they limit the theories, and the theories are outdated perhaps. Let's say, for example, they're using TRA only, or they're using TAM only, but now you have better theories. You want to test it with UTAUT, you want to test it with UTAUT too, or they're using TRA. Now you want to test it with TPB, you know, even though TPB has been used by many people as well. So you want to use the other theories to test the one that has been used before to make it better, you know, to provide a more robust explanation of the issue that you want to explore. Yeah, those are the gaps. Current debate in the field or in the society at large, or issues with future importance. This is what I'm saying. Or the one that we have been talking about in the industry a lot, but no one is investigating it in the academic sector. A lot of people in the industry, practitioners are talking about it, but no one is examining it. So this actually proposes gaps. So a research problem may be defined as an area of concern, a gap in existing knowledge, or a deviation in the norm of standard. All right, so we have been talking about this thing just now. A research problem is a definite and clear expressions about an area of concern, a condition to be improved upon, a difficulty to be eliminated, or troubling questions that exist in scholarly literature, in theory, or within existing practices that points to a need of meaningful understanding of deliberate investigation. Okay, so when you write, so after you identify the research gaps, we have all these gaps here. The next things that bother our student a lot would be you need to write your problem statement. Okay, the parts of your problem statement. A lot of examiner will tell you when you want to argue your problem statement by right is you need to argue your dependent variable first. If it is a quantitative study, your topic first, the most important components of your research first. You need to discuss about that first, and then after that because that is the reason why you want to do the research. Okay, by investigating on perhaps by intention, perhaps you investigated on royalty. It will be able to help you to solve all the gaps. You will be able to fill up the gaps that you have been mentioning in the section before in your research gap. So in your problem statement, by right, you need to write about the most important things in your framework first. That would be your dependent variables. Or the most important issues that you want to discuss. So you can describe, these are suggestions on you may describe the ideal, okay, the desired goal or ideal situation, explain how things should be. This thing's supposed to be like this. But then after that, you follow with the reality. Explain how the current condition actually falls short of the goal or ideal. Then the next one is you argue on the consequences, the way you propose to improve the current situation and move it closer to the goal or the ideal. So first thing, write about the ideal, and then after that, explain how the situation is fall short from of the ideal. And then after that, how are you proposed by testing the variables that you propose in the framework is going to cross the gaps that you think it's supposed to be. So this one, A, B, C here is sort of like when you discuss your points, this is sort of like you can see a nice continuation of discussion in the sense that you're explaining how things are supposed to be, but now it is not like this. So how are you going to close the gaps using the variables that you want to test in your framework? Yeah. I give you some ideas, Okay. Hold on. Current global economic crisis seems to be especially hard for large companies. Therefore, SME are facing strong expectations for their role to be key players when economies will be recovering from the present recession. Previous research has also widely investigated the firm's characteristic creating profitability. However, the result obtained are inconclusive or even contradictory. Consequently, many researchers have concluded that more research is needed in the area. Of course, when you look at it here, it is not 100% of what I have been explaining because I'll give you more comprehensive example later on. But what I am trying to tell you here, because these are in the journal paper, so you can see the wording are very short and very concise. But when it is in your thesis, you need more explanation, more detailed explanation than this one. Okay, so you need to explain what is the condition right now, whereby the SME have to, what is the role of the SME they're supposed to do, But however, a lot of research found that, they actually found that the things that they're investigating are contradictory or inconclusive. So there is no conclusion can be made. And because of that, you need more research, so it bring in more the next one that will be the statement then, okay? So for example here, a problem statement is used in a research work as a claim that outlines problem addressed by a study. Yeah. So a problem statement, when we say a problem statement, it means it is a statement. Means that when you write a problem in the problem statement section, you need to write your flow of discussion. By right is supposed to be what you want to research, in the sense that how it ideally is supposed to happen, and then how it was how it is falls short of the expectation, and then in the end how your research using the framework that you are testing on is going to fill up the gap. So the last part here is supposed to be a statement, in a sense. Introduce the reader to the importance of the topic. It anchors the research questions, hypothesis and assumption to follows. Place the topic in a particular context, okay, that define the parameters of what to be investigated. Provide the framework for reporting the results and indicate what is probably necessary to conduct the research, and explain how the findings will present the information. Yeah. So we need to introduce, like what I said you just now, introduce the importance of the issues, okay, and then how we're going to use the how the importance of the issues, how it is not being, how the things are not being the ideal situation. The issue is not in the ideal situation, and how are you going to propose the variables to actually fill up the gap to answer this issue, to solve this issue, in a sense. So when you talk about your problem statement, beside your dependent variable, if you have an independent variable, when you have your mediating, you need to explain it as well. This is why a lot of people saying chapter 1 is actually a summary of all the chapters after that, actually. You know, because in your chapter 1, you will also talk a little bit on the variables that you're testing. Because if not, then it will be very weird. How are you going to come up with your research question and your research objective later on, you know, especially in a quantitative study. Okay, so hence in your problem statement, you need to include your dependent, you need to include your dependent, independent, dependent, and also your any relationship that you're testing. You including them in is because they are actually the reason is that they are going to solve the gap that you have addressed in the research gap previously. You must bear in mind. It is a when you are writing your chapters, or your paragraph, you must understand that the continuation of the discussion is very important. So starting, from what is the topic is all about, then what is the issues that related to this topic, and then after that, how are you going to cross the gap in the issues by using the framework that you're going to test. So then you will see a nice flow of idea in that sense. Phrases that can be used to write a problem statement. You can use this one example. It is known that this thing happened in such a way. Okay, it's very important, and it's this and that. But researchers have identified that these things are related to what type of variables. But however, debates exist about this issue still, because the findings are contradicting, or because the inconclusiveness, or people are testing on A and B but not C and D, or they tested on this variable in separate research setting, very different research setting. Hence, it is rather controversial in the sense that the finding cannot be conclusive, this and that, So then you will be able to write your statement in the next. How am I going to arrow pointer? Yeah. No. Control. Next. Okay. So I'm to show you examples. Okay. So this is the example, example how to write. And this is also in a journal paper. We try to see how do people write how do people write their problem statement. Okay, I'll read it for you. This paper is on food, okay, the intake of food. So there is more to food than just nutrition. Past researcher has found that food intake is associated with an individual's affective states. Affective states means that how it will influence our emotion. Many people eat in order to distract themselves from, compensate for, or cope with negative effects such as stress, anxiety, frustration, fear, and blah, blah, blah. The food eaten under those circumstances are sometimes referred as comfort food. Okay, and most of these food are indulgent, sweet, carbohydrates, and fat-rich foods because such foods can provide immediate satisfaction and even psychophysical benefits. Okay, for example, food with high levels of fat and sugar trigger the release of insulin and endorphins. Okay, and blah blah blah. Similarly, studies have found that positive emotions are often associated with high appetite level, which means that when you are in positive mood, you eat more in a sense, particularly for familiar food. And so because happy individuals seek out food in order to celebrate or reward themselves. Likewise, research has shown that joy and positive mood accompanied by strong emotional arousal increase the consumption of indulgent food such as chocolate and butter. So they are actually proposing here, when we are happy, we eat more. Okay, people eat more when they are happy, and people when they are in high emotional arousal also, they eat more indulgent foods. However, more recent studies show that negative moods and positive moods may lead to preference for different type of food. For example, okay, people ate more hedonic food when they were sad and more of a less hedonic food when they are happy. So which means when we are happy, we concern more about the health issue. When we are not happy, we will eat the food to make us happy. So which means we will eat more chocolates, eat more buttered and salted popcorn, for example. So a few studies offer insights into why positive moods are associated with preferences for such diverse food based on affect regulation framework. Then they bring in the theory here, did you see? Okay, in the discussion. All right. So positive mood increase one willingness to try an indulgent food. Okay, when a mood lifting cue was present, but decreased willingness to try a healthy food when a mood threatening cue was present. So depends on the cue that is available, people consume different types of food. Okay, so when no mood changing cue was present, however, a positive mood increased willingness to try both chocolate and coconut water compared to a neutral mood. Similarly, people in positive mood choose nutrition foods when they did not feel the need for mood maintaining behaviors, but choose indulgent food when they feel the need for maintaining behaviors. However, this study was limited in that the affect regulation motive for choosing healthy or indulgent food was experimentally given to participants, as lay theories about the nature of the moods and explicit cue about mood changing consequences associated with consuming the target food. So which means these things are basically more of the time is experimental design. Okay, and you can see the next one that I highlight. The relationship between mood, affect regulation, temporal perspective, and food choice have not been empirically tested in a comprehensive manner. Okay, so then they argue, you see, even though it was tested, here it was tested, okay, mood influenced our type of the food that in the intake of the food, and also we found that regulation framework actually also affect the type of the food that we will be taking. Okay, but however, this relationship has not been being empirically tested all in a comprehensive manner, which means they all tested separately. The other tested say mood and affect regulation or temporal perspective with food choice or mood with food choice, affect regulation with food choice, but they never test mood, affect regulation, temporal perspective, and food choice together. So it was never been tested comprehensively. And the present work extends past research on mood and food consumption by marrying the affect regulation network with a temporal construct theory explanation to enhance our understanding of the process underlying the effect of mood on preferences for health or indulgent foods. So in particular, in this study here, they use laboratory experiment, but maybe in our thesis, we do not need this particular part here. But what we need is actually, we have to say, what has not been done previously, and there's a gaps. We're addressing the gaps using the theory, the variables that we are going to test, okay? And how we extend the past research actually using by marrying these two different theory together, the framework plus the theory, to enhance the understanding of the topics that they want to do. All right, so this is how we write a nice arguments, even though this what is written in the journal, okay, because I take this from a journal, but generally in a thesis also you can follow more or less the same flow of arguments. This is what I'm saying, huh? All right. So then this would be going into the next topic of research objective. Just now, actually, I can stop there because that is the research the research gaps and also the problem statement in your chapter 1. But I think it is also important for us to talk a little bit on the research objective and the research questions as well, because these are important, and I'm not sure whether the next topic, whether Dr. Azizi will actually discuss about these two issues or not, or he will just straight to go into hypothesis development. So I would like to mention a little bit here on this part here. When we talk about research objective and research questions, a lot of people argue which one shall we have it first? Is we present research objective first or research question first? I discussed about this with Ramaya, Prof. Ramaya from USM before. He advised, and I agree with his advice in the sense that if it is a quantitative research, it would be better for us to start with objective, then followed by questions. If it is qualitative, then sometimes, if it is qualitative, then you could have the research question first, then the research objective. Okay, because your question is to answer the objective. Meanwhile, our objective here is we establish the objective first, then we trying to answer the questions that we draw from the objective. Okay, so can list for most general to most specific. But again, you check with your supervisors on that, because different people could have different school of thoughts, and your supervisor might not agree with me in a sense. Can list from most general to most specific. Each objective should focus on a single issue and use terms such as to analyze, if quantitative, to analyze, to compare, to describe, to determine, to investigate, to review, and to test. I found, why do I want to explain this thing is because from my supervision experience, I found that my students always make a mistake when they are writing their research objective. During their first proposal they send to me, I can see research objective, research questions are mostly wrong. You must understand this is academic research. So you are getting an academic PhD or academic master degree. This is not a managerial objective. This is not what you have in your company, not what the company is doing. This is for your PhD. So most of the time, it should not focus on managerial actions or activities. It is supposed to be very precise, very specific, rather than very vague, huge in a sense. For example, I give you an example. To develop an intervention plan in order to improve internal communication between top management and operation staff. We don't write this type of objective because this is not a research objective. To develop an intervention plan in order to improve internal communication between top management and operation staff. Too vague, too huge. We don't know what is it. Okay. To advise management on how to improve the quality of service delivered to customers at what company also. This is not the way to write your research objective. Okay, this is not a company. If you are writing a research proposal for your company to solve a certain issue, then it is okay. This is okay. But when this come to your research, academic research, no, it is not okay. So there are a few things when you have to pay attention to when you're writing your research objective and questions. First thing is research questions are mostly questions. It will end with question mark. Means while research objective are statement. So don't make your research objective become a question. Okay, so make sure that it is a statement. Example of research objective to determine the factors influencing consumers' online buying intention. Okay, to examine the moderating role of age, for example. To examine the mediating role of moral disengagement in the relationship between the antecedent factors and the deviant workplace behavior. All right. Example, then after that, we are trying to draw research questions from research objective. Research questions are vital as they guide the choice of methodology, method samples, sample size, data collection instruments, and data analysis techniques. So that's why most of the time, if you look into your research questions, you'll find that research questions would be a more comprehensive manner of your hypothesis. The hypothesis is very specific, 111, A and B, C and B, D and B. Okay, but research questions also actually already can see the direction already. Okay, so it's just that you might be combining those factors together. You don't need to write one by one in a sense. Do individual factors such as personality and mood positively influencing consumer buying intention? Okay, so when we hear our research question, did the individual factors, for example, like personality and mood positively influencing the consumer buying behavior intention? Does age moderate the relationship between mood and ice cream consumption, in which older people tend to consume more ice cream when they have more positive moods? Does moral disengagement mediate the relationship between the antecedent factors and workplace deviance? Okay, so those are the things that we can write from the research objective. You can write the research questions in such a way. You can see it here, a research objective, you can't see how you test it. But actually, when you write your research question, you can see already generally what you are trying to test in what directions is quite clear already in your research questions. Okay? And then from there, later on, you are going to, because these research questions, just like what I say, we come up with this research objective and also research question. If let's say, for example, in your problem statement just now, in the section before your research gap problem statement, you never talk about these factors here, individual factors. You never talk about age. You never talk about moral disengagement, never talk about antecedent factors and workplace deviance. It would be very, very weird. So that's why you need to make sure that in your problem statement, in your writing before that, it has to be a continuation, starting from the background of the study to the research gap, to the problem statement, to your research objective and research questions. Because your research question and research objective are right, basically based on your problem statement. From there, we are actually building, looking at the things in a more specific manner. Now we talk about what we want to achieve in this research already, and what are the questions that we draw from this research. Okay, so it must have a continuity of points of discussion. This is what I'm saying, because it's very common that when I read thesis, either I supervise from the students I supervise or from journal papers or from any master thesis, MBA, by research, PhD thesis, what I can see is there's no continuation of ideas. It sounds very abrupt. Suddenly, tiba-tiba, suddenly this research objective and research questions were proposed. And meanwhile, in the problem statement or in the research gap, you never mention about all these things. You never talk about these issues. You never talk about all these variables in your problem statement. How are you going to come up with very, very specific factors then in your research objective and research questions? So these are the things that you must bear in mind when you're writing your research gaps, your problem statement, as well as your research objective and questions. Yeah. So when we are talking about research questions for qualitative research, generally, qualitative research, it is more general in a sense that they are not that specific. Okay, it is more flexible, it is adaptable and non-directional, because your research is actually to determine or discover a process or define experiences. So it is actually not the same like the qualitative research. Okay, so I will focus on, like what I say, this talk will be focusing more on the quantitative research. So the quantitative research questions, it normally is more precise, more precise. We should highlight the population, the dependent variables, and the design. Okay, so it depends on your design. Is a descriptive, correlational, experimental, or cost comparative, or quasi-experimental. So you need to link the research questions and the design. Okay, What makes a strong research question is that a lot of people, when they're writing their research question, I give you some hints here. We need to focus on a single topic or problem, answer to primary and secondary data. Do not ask for subjective value judgment. Avoid words, for example, like good, bad, better, worst. Is X a better policy? Is X or Y a better policy? This type of research question is not good. We do not write this type of research questions. Okay, we also don't the research question shouldn't also ask why as well. Why does X occur? We don't write this type of research questions. Instead, you can write what are the main factors contributing to X? Would be a better one. Okay. It has to be, we have to answer within the practical constraint and use specific well-defined concept. For example, what effect does social media have on people's mind? You can't write a research question like this because it is too big, too vague. Okay, what you can do is you can write it in such a way, more specific. What effect does daily use of FB have on attention span of under 16? So here it's very clear. You only want to look into the daily use of FB and the attention span on those people under 16. All right. And also, for example, do not ask for conclusive solution, policy, or course of action. What should the government do about low voter turnouts? No, we don't do this type of research because you can't answer in a quantitative research this type of research question. Instead, you should write what are the most effective communication strategies to increase voter turnout under those people under 30. So it's very specific. You only want to see the effect of communication strategies, okay, on voter turnout for the people under 30. Very clear, very specific, rather than very vague like this. Okay. Or cannot be answered with yes or no, too simple. All right. For example, you write, has there been an increase in homeless in Malaysia in the past 10 years? Answer is yes or no. No, this is also not a good research question. The question is supposed to be, how have the economic factors affected the patterns of homelessness in Malaysia over the past 10 years? So you're examining economic factors, influence patterns of homelessness for the past 10 years. So very specific, and you can see it's not a question of yes or no, but you're looking into examining different types of economic factors. Cannot be answered with easily found facts or figures. Okay. Provide scope of debate for deliberations. If this can be found easily, the answers are, then you do not need to conduct a research to test it in a sense. Address a problem relevant to the field or discipline. Okay, contributes to a topical, social, or academic debates, and has not already been answered. It does not need to be groundbreaking, but it should have originality. Okay, so these are the things that I would like to give you some hints, some tips, basically, or some advices or some guidelines on when you are writing for your chapter 1, which is the most important chapter in your thesis. It is a summary of the other parts of the thesis. Hence, I would advise you to work really hard on your chapter 1, because if you have a good chapter 1, you will find that you will have a good chapter 2 and 3 as well, and 4 and 5. It is very common, because this one, when you are designing your research, you need to make sure that you are correct from the beginning until the end. When you are right in the very first part, when you're designing your research, you will be right in the end when you're getting the right answers, in a sense. Okay. All right. I think that's so for this morning, for my session, for my talk. Dr. Izanti, do I need to open for Q&A?
Yeah. We have to open for Q&A.
Oh, okay. All right.
We'll just wait. See, somebody wants to ask question already. Okay, over to you, Lin Lee. You have question?
Good morning, doctor. And I want to ask ask Dr. Grace, could you show us how to search article?
I cannot hear.
The library of UMS by classify as journal or degree thesis.
Sorry, Miss Lee.
How to search article use our e-library of UMS by classify.
You cannot use, or you can?
I don't know how to use. because
Oh.
I searched them and I think I download and it's not for free.
Oh, it's not for free.
I don't understand what you mean, you know.
I think I understand. I understand, Dr. Grace, what she's trying to say.
You know, I do understand, but the thing is, I don't understand why she cannot use it, because you do not need to download anything. You just need to go to Google, and then I show it to you. Yeah. Am I sharing my point now?
Yes.
Yes, we can see.
Yeah, you can see, right? You just go to Google, for example. Let me
Oh,
see.
yeah.
And then you just type FPEP.UMS. And then after that, it will bring it to you here. Then you just type, then you just key in your password. Then you get it in. Why do you need to download?
I get a password and I get account.
Do you
What?
have a password?
By sending email to library.
No. You use your
Student ID, right?
student ID.
I tried, but it failed.
It
I
failed.
tried to use my student ID and my passport to enter, and then I cannot download anything. It
Cannot
said
download.
I need to
Then
pay
you
off.
have to contact. You have to contact library. I cannot answer you then. You have to contact library.
No,
Okay,
another question is, I don't know how to search article by classified as journal or degree thesis, because I want to see
Degree is what is degree?
degree thesis on the internet, or I want to see journal. I want to classify them.
You want to classify them.
Classify. Yes.
You want to know whether that is a journal paper or not a journal paper?
Maybe sometimes I want to search on journal paper, and
Lily, who is your supervisor? May I
who is
know?
your supervisor, Lingli?
May I know who is your supervisor?
Dr. N. Dr. N and Dr. Brahim.
Dr. N? Who is Dr. N?
Who is Dr. N?
Dr. Brahim Chekima and Dr. An Hong Long.
Dr.
Ang. Okay, Dr. Ang.
Okay. I do believe that the very first session with your supervisor, okay, they will teach you on how to search. At least they will teach you on how to search journals, articles in the system.
Okay.
Your supervisor.
I do not know how to do. Okay, let's say for example, yeah, I teach you how lah, my dear. You go to Google, you type Google Scholar, yeah? Okay.
Yes.
Then you type Google Scholar, it'll bring you to Scholar. And then after that, you have all these things, right? Most of the time articles are journal articles lah. Okay? All right? So it is already clicked here, right? So if let's say, for example, you want to do brand image lah. Then you see here, it was published in Journal of Marketing Theory, Journal of Marketing. So these are all journal paper lah. Understand? Yeah. So I do not know your second words. Just now I cannot recognize your second words.
I often can see the abstract, but I don't see any whole
paper. Yeah, because
you can't get full paper because this Scholar, Google Scholar, they will list all the papers in the field. This is the reason why I tell you you should go to eProxy, because from eProxy, for example, some paper here is free. Some paper here is they give you free access, because not all paper are free access. Some paper you need to pay for it. Like this is not free, for example. You need to pay for it. So you need to find this paper, you copy paste, and then after that you go and find it in the FPEP.UMS library lah.
Oh, got it. And thank you.
You get what I mean, right? Of course, there are some websites that give you free access lah, but those are actually rather illegal things to do so. So that one I'm not going to teach you in a sense lah.
No, don't teach that one. And also, Lilin, okay, I'll post it here later because we have conducted a workshop on how to find articles as well. We do
Okay.
have. So I'll post
Thank
it.
you.
So maybe some of you who are here as well can also access the system to check on that. Okay?
Thank you. I got it. Thank you very much.
Okay. How about the others? Can Mr. Bao asking about whether Dr. Grace is be able to give them your slides, Dr. Grace? Is that possible?
Yes, I will be able to send. Maybe I'll pass the slide to Dr. Izyanti. Is it okay, Dr. Izyanti?
Yes, we do.
The PDF, the
Yeah,
PDF version, and then you can have it.
share it.
Yeah, the file, the presentation was gathered from different sources lah. Just to let you know lah, huh?
Yes, and also I would like to highlight that our section has conducted a lot of research. Seminars, workshop, and it has been downloaded at uploaded at YouTube. Okay, to everyone, so you can have a look which one you want. Let's say, for example, how to search article, how to do referencing. So it will be able to help you. Yeah, I'll post it later as well. By the way, any question for Dr. Grace on today's topic?
Yes,
This
I
is
have
the
a
hardest part.
I have a problem. Good morning,
Okay.
doctor. My name is Mausa.
Hi.
I have a question. When I started to write the research proposal, I make a mess. How to distinguish the difference of the motivation and the problem statements? In my opinion, I found just because the existing problem, so I need to research. I need to choose this topic. So that is my motivation.
Oh, sorry. You say, what is the difference between motivation and your research problem?
Yes.
Why do you need to talk about motivation?
Because at the beginning of the research proposal, we need to write the motivation.
In your research proposal, there's no parts for motivation. You do not need to write your motivation.
Motivation?
You look at your chapter 1, there's no parts for your motivation.
Okay.
Yeah, the motivation is only for if you are being interviewed to further your study.
Yeah,
Oh,
maybe
sure.
to interview you whether you want to get into this study or not. People ask you your motivation to study this topic or whatever. But in your chapter 1, chapter 2, I don't see the parts for motivation.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, that's the reason. That's the reason. That's are the things that I observe in students too, Dr. Grace, where they cannot differentiate. I think that's how you build your academic writing skills, right? Because it's sometimes you just I want to do this study because, but that's not proposal. That's not your research proposal, right?
Dr. Izyanti, do we give templates for students for research proposal?
I give outline for them.
Yeah. So that outlines, does everybody get it? Anyone don't have it?
I posted in Telegram group the outline.
Yes. So
Proposal.
do you guys get it? Because Dr. Izyanti posted a guideline for the research proposal. So outline what you need to have in your research proposal.
Yeah.
So that you will be on the right track rather than you are creating your own
Yes,
new.
okay. Mr. Ben say yes. Yes, okay. Hermita says yes. Okay.
Yes, okay. So make sure that you check, your
Only
Telegram.
answer those questions. Do not
Yeah.
write other than that.
Yes,
Okay.
it is a guideline, but not to say that 100% you must follow,
Betul,
but
betul.
that would be the best practice. So you do not need to write other than, you can write more than that, but that is good enough actually.
Dr. Grace, I have a question, Dr. Grace. I think these are some of the things that came up to for students. Okay, when their supervisor read their thesis, then the supervisor comment, "I cannot see your gap. I cannot see your problem statement. What does it mean?" And the student also like, "I've been researching, but I saw the problem, but my supervisor don't see the problem." So what is that actually? Can you describe when the lecturer said like that? What does it mean?
When I asked this question, I asked that question as well. First of all, you must have the section for your research gap in your problem statement. So once you have that section, your supervisor or any examiner are trying to find the gap from that particular section. So in that section, you need to clearly state what is the research gap, what is your problem statement. If you didn't clearly state it, people will be lost, especially when you're writing a lot of things and your points are not organized. This is what Dr. Izyanti has been telling us just now. Technical writing is not easy. It is not like writing a novel, I go to school, I go and, today the weather is very nice, not this type of writing. Technical writing need practices. I always advise my students, you need to write no matter what. Start writing, read more, read good journal. From good journal, you can see how people write article, and you need to copy them, not to say you plagiarize them, no, but to copy how they write. How do they reason things, this is the reason why just now I tell you, right? I spent quite some time talking about reading an article. When you read an article, first of all, don't waste your time. You're going to read, last time when I first joined PhD, my friend told me you have to read more than 1,000 articles for your PhD. I was like, my God, how am I going to read more than 1,000 articles for my PhD? But that is the truth. We have to read a lot of articles in a week. How are you going to read it smartly? No one tell me before. Now I'm sharing with you. You don't need to read the whole paper, my dear. You read, first of all, abstract. Read abstract, whether this abstract is suitable for you or not. It is things related to you, worth reading or not. Once you think that this is worth reading more, then you start to read more. When you think you want to read more, also, you do not need to read 14 pages, 16 pages. Read the part that I think is important. Introduction. This now Dr. Izyanti says, how does your supervisor says, I don't see your gap, I don't see your problem statement. You read journal article, you try to read the introduction part alone, you can see how people reason.
Yes.
You will be seeing, because this is because writing is a skill that not your supervisor can teach you A, B, C. It is not like that, your supervisor is supervising you. His job is not to teach you A to Z, you see. So, but what I can tell you here is that you need to learn by yourself how to write. Technical writing needs skill, and you need to practice all the time. Me, myself, Dr. Izyanti, until today, we are still practicing and writing, Our paper get rejected all the time. When people criticize us, we didn't see the gap. They see the gap, but they don't see how significant is the gap. It's very common.
Get comments like that.
Yes, it's very common. So it is very common to me. It is very common to you as well. So how to write your problem statement, how to write your research gap to make sure that it is clear, write it clear. When I read article, I just used to tell my friends that, when I supervise student, or when I review a thesis, I prefer something that is very clear. I like students to tell me this is gap number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4. There are 5 gaps. This is the first gap, second gap, third gap. I like that way because I'm a very straightforward person. So when I write also, you can ask Dr. Izyanti, I also write very clearly. We have a few issues. I categorize my variables. So I'm going to tackle these 2 groups of, let's say, for example, you can say there are individual factors and organizational factors. So my gap would be related to these 2 things, for example. Then from there, I make it smaller. You get what I mean, right? When you
funnel it.
You discuss an issue, you discuss a big one to a smaller one in a more specific way. Yeah, then your supervisor will be able, or the examiner will be able to see it very clearly.
Clear as possible.
Very clear. What are you trying to address? What are you trying to answer? And many people also they tell you don't see the gap, they don't see your problem statement because there is no continuation of discussion. From your gap to your problem statement, no continuation. Macam tiba-tiba, suddenly you appear. Suddenly this problem appear. Suddenly
it does not think.
The variable suddenly appear. There is no discussion on the theory.
Explanation.
Actually, theories is good for you to argue in your problem statement because theory will explain the framework. It will actually I always tell my students who are under my supervision, your theory will actually impose, how to say, it will give you a scope. You know, let's say, for example, I tell my student, you want to investigate what is the intention to buy a handbag, a luxury handbag, for example. You can have 5 reasons. You can have 100 reasons. We can have 1,000 reasons as well, you know. So how to choose this reason? How to make sure that I only want to test 5 reasons and not 100 reasons? How? Based on the theory that you're testing. Because your theory is going to tell you to what extent your framework will cover. So this is why theory is extremely important, because theory will actually help us to frame our framework, you know. Your framework will be just nice. It is explained by the theory that you choose. That's why don't develop your
Don't go
framework
outside
and
that.
after that
Yeah.
trying to find theories to explain your framework. You are going to kill yourself.
No.
First, from the
Yes.
beginning, anything when you read a paper, the topic that you want to do, you will definitely read in those papers, they will be proposing a certain theories, right? In the end of the day, you will know when I want to do brand image, when I want to do, for example, when I want to do internet adoption, I understand that there are a few theories definitely I have to mention. I will definitely have to do. It's either UTAL or a TAM or DOI or whatsoever. You know, if that is the case, then this theory actually will provide you a scope already. Whether you want to expand later on this theory, combining UTAL 2 with another theory, for example, then it's up to you.
Later,
Yeah,
after
based on your
reading.
reading. Based on your reading. Yeah. So reading is extremely important.
Yes.
That would be my advice.
Yeah. And also I think maybe some of us and also the students, the continuity of the paragraph. Discussion there, it is not there's no continuity. Jump here and there, copy paste here and there. So that's why perhaps it makes the reader couldn't, what are you trying to say? I couldn't find your gap because it's not clearly defined.
Very common mistake among students.
Very common.
This is what I'm saying. Writing, when you come to writing of your thesis, you need to read it again and again. Let me tell you, from the time I submitted my thesis, I'm still correcting my thesis, my writing, because 100 times, 1,000 times I read my thesis, it was never be a good writing. They will never be a good writing, because every time you look at it, every time I'm improving it. This is life. This is truth. If you're not doing that, you should do it, I think. Every time you read your sentence, every time you're correcting your sentence. If you are too happy with your sentence, and mess with yourself, then something is wrong.
Yeah, something is not right.
Something is wrong.
Yes. So I myself took like, I think 1 semester or even more just to come up with the problem statement, because after much reading, it does not come in 1 week. It does not come in 2 months. It comes a long reading.
My framework come much later.
Much later. So you need to start early, you know, start reading, you know, it's not just 1 week you can come up with the
be patient. Don't rush yourself. Reading is extremely important. Extremely important. Just to share with you, we, like us, me and Dr. Izianti, we are academicians. We do our PhD after we are academicians and we continue our study. It still took us some time to finalize our framework. And I think if you are just a fresh graduate student and continue for your PhD study, you might need to take a little bit more time. I don't know, maybe perhaps you're very good or your supervisor are very good, I'm not sure. But don't get panic when you can't finalize. I found students are always getting very, very panicked. Oh, I couldn't PD within a year. This is PhD. You know, you need to make sure that you are right from the beginning. Once you're right from the beginning, you will be right after that. If you are in the beginning salah kan, later on you will suffer. The whole process.
Yeah, sampai habis salah. If your first chapter is not strong enough, it's not clear enough, the foundation.
Yes. It will be too late. Later on, you want to change.
You will incur problems till the finishing of your thesis.
So it's sort of like, garbage in, garbage out. So I would advise you to really give a little bit more time, really look into your framework, talk to your supervisors, because only your supervisors will know you better, know your framework better, they can discuss with you. So get a good supervisor. Yep. Do we have a question from Humberto?
Oh, yeah. Oh, sorry. I cannot see you, Mr. Humberto.
Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, Dr. Grace, Dr. Janti. Thank you very much. Very interesting, all these guidance, very good tips for the introductory chapter, problem statement. I have a question regarding research questions, Dr. Grace.
Mm.
You use a mixed method research. Certain authors, for example, Creswell, Tasha Corey as well, they're very explicit, very emphatic that it's very important to set a question that belongs to the qualitative phase, a question of questions to belong to the quantitative phase, and then a mixed methods question. Depending on your approach of the mix, exploratory,
It is.
depends. What's your opinion on the matter?
I didn't do mixed method in my research. I am not an expert to claim on mixed method, but in marketing, we do quanti, we do quali. It's just that we don't do triangulations. We do most of the time our qualitative research. We did it first, and then after that, we use the findings of the qualitative study to build on our quantitative research. So we do not write. I have not much. I have to be frank with you. I'm not an expert in writing research questions for mixed research method. I think that one you will need to attend. We do have talk for mixed research method, right, Dr. Izyanti, under PASCHA?
Yes.
I think we have that. I'm so sorry, Roberta, because I'm a very straightforward person. If I can answer you, definitely answer you. But if I couldn't give you a good answer, I think I would let this expert to give you that particular advice would be better, rather than I give you a wrong one.
It's all right. I appreciate that, doctor.
Yeah,
Thank
don't
you.
worry.
Thank you.
Don't worry. But mixed method, you're going to do a mixed method, is it, Humberto?
Yes, I am.
Who is your supervisor?
Dr. Lim.
Lim Tian Sang.
Okay. Finance then, mixed method, you will need to do quali and quanti together. Mixed method is actually very interesting, very good. Just that you might need to take more extra effort because you need to be good involved in a sense. So most of the researchers are either good in quanti or they're either good in quali. To find someone who is good involved, yeah, it's hard actually, but of course it doesn't stop you from doing it because this is now a more comprehensive approach of investigating an issue actually. It is. So, Pampate Kudasai.
Thank you, doctor.
Thank you.
Okay. Any more questions from the floor?
Any more?
Okay, I think
It's more like a sharing of experience because me and Dr. Izyanti, we did our PhD. Dr. Izyanti did it in Malaysia. I did it in Japan. They are very different approach, you know, when we talk to our, talk about our experience, you know. Malaysia, I would say we have very good approach in the sense that it's very clear cuts in the sense that we want you to grade and we have a process for you on how are you going to achieve your graduation. I think it's very, very good because we propose to you that within how many period, how long is the time that you have to do your proposal defense and what you have to do. Because in Japan, I don't have proposal defense. So, but I have 2 times open viva. So, you know, different types of approach. I prefer our approach more actually, because our approach is clearer. You know what you have to do, you know how to do about it. The issue is only whether your research is good enough to grant you a PhD or not, that's all. But with the help of your supervisor should be okay, and also your examiner, right? No worries.
Any
but
more?
Don't get panic.
Don't get panic. It's only your first semester, yeah. It's only your first semester. And for your research methodology class, it's only a simple proposal, not the final one, Dr. Grace.
Yeah, no. You might change.
You might change
your topic. You most probably you'll change your field not your field, you'll change your topic. Most probably it depends on your lecturer. Your supervisor think whether it is workable or not, because supervisor would, even though they might not, it's very hard for us to find a supervisor who is 100% in the field that we are researching, because you are in the end, you are the expert, you know, in the field that you want to do. Very common, but your supervisor with the vast experience will be able to guide you in a sense that how to do a scientific research. That would be more important. Find someone who are in a related field that can help you to look at your framework now. That's why if
Yes.
you're in marketing, find a lecturer in marketing. You have your finance, find a lecturer in finance. Very common that would be the safest, because then your supervisor would have vast knowledge to advise you on a framework, because framework is the most important. The body of the knowledge would be the most important thing. I think Dr. Azizi will cover that, right? Dr.
Yes.
Izanti?
After your session, next week. Yeah.
The topic is what? Framework, hypothesis or framework?
Framework and framework and hypothesis building, thing like that. Yeah.
These are very, very important. Today topics and
Today and tomorrow is today and next week is very important because it's the
very, very
foundation.
important, because foundation of it. Once you're right from there, the rest of the things you are actually
sail
almost
through.
80% correct already.
Okay, if there is no questions, I think our session will complete here. Dr. Grace, thank you very much, Dr. Grace,
Thank you.
on your contribution to the section on giving talks on the problem formulation for the postgraduate students. Is a very interesting. I myself still learning on how to do it and still practicing on how to write a clear and concise problem statement. Maybe we
We're
can
all
take
learning.
Yeah, we all learning. Yeah, can we take
We're all
photo?
learning.
Puan Beth?
Possible for you guys? Switch on the camera, is it?
Yeah. Switch on the camera. Hi, who's
Hi.
this? Oli,
Hi.
Ali. Is that Ali?
Ali. Yes,
Ali.
Ali. Yes.
Ali. In Malaysia, Ali is a male.
Man's name.
Male name. Yes.
Ali is a similar pronunciation to Cantonese. My
Hi.
mother tongue is Cantonese. Yes.
Okay.
Yes. My
Okay.
parents, my friend call me Ali. Ali. Pronunciation. Ali.
Okay, thank
Okay.
you. Anyone else? Kejap ya, saya lah mungkin belum. Okay, because Miss Beth is currently on leave today, but she still attend us. So nice, Miss Beth. Okay, so we just switch on all our camera. Izyanti will take the photo. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Okay.
And more
Ready?
are still switching on the camera, I think.
Okay, we wait for. Okay. Ready? 1, 2, 3. And last one. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Okay. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Dr. Grace. Have a safe.
Thank you so
Thank you.
much. Thank you.
Weekend. I can't wait for the weekend. Okay. Bye-bye. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much. Okay, bye.
PowerPoint later. Thank you. Take care.
All right. Bye-bye. Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Take care, yeah?
Take care. Take care, Grace.
Take care.